The next topic on our agenda is Harvesting Hope, Regenerative Agriculture for a Sustainable Future. Here to talk about it, we have Peter Schmetz, Investment Principal at Vorwerk Ventures. We have Giorgio Piracci, Chair, Regenerative Agriculture, EMEA, and Account Manager at Peterson Projects and Solutions. We have Valeria Kogan, CEO at Fermata, and the discussion moderator joining us, Inbar Maymon-Pomeranchik, co-founder and CEO at AgChimedes. Please join me. The stage is all yours. Now is the time. Moderator will be joining us in no time. It's always good to get accustomed to this stage and the spotlight and the temperature and the atmosphere. It always is. Yeah, make yourselves comfortable. And we are still waiting for the moderator? Yeah, we have the moderator ready. Wonderful. Wonderful. How are you?
Thank you.
All smiley. Hopefully it will be an interesting discussion for you as well. Enjoy.
Thank you. So thank you, the people that are here. There are nice snacks outside, so I can understand. So today we are going to speak about regenerative agriculture. I spoke with three of you earlier and a couple of days ago, and actually it's a very interesting topic, and it's a big topic. You know, regenerative agriculture it's a word, and I needed to Google it in order to understand what is regenerative agriculture. Most of us, when we say regenerative agriculture, we are talking about the soil health, etc., but we spoke about it, and it's not just that. We're talking about climate change and why do we need regenerative agriculture. And we will have a nice conversation about that, and hopefully each of you will help us to understand more about the topic. What are the problems, what are the questions, where is the future, how we can heal the world, because it's very important, but also how can we make money out of it, because it's also important for us, and it's okay to say that. So I suggest us to start with a short introduction, name, where are you coming from, and I will start. So my name is Inbar Maymon-Pomeranchik. I am the co-founder and CEO of AgChimedes Group. We're a company, a venture building company, and we build companies in the sector of agri-tech and food tech. We currently have 4 companies in this area, and it's a very good point to be here in this conference because we're talking about food tech conference, and we're talking about agriculture. And we know that there is a very fine line between agriculture and food tech. So there is the agriculture that we know very good, that we're going to speak right now. And there is the food tech that is protein replacement and feed additive, food additive, etc., etc. But there is the whole way in between. For example, we spoke about it, how to make a better apple tree, a resilient apple tree, which is also food tech. So let's start by introducing ourselves.
Hello, everyone. My name is Valeria Kogan. I'm the CEO of Fermata. We're an Israeli ag-tech company, and we're developing AI, computer vision, for precise monitoring of plants, identifying pests, diseases, and other issues. And our input into more sustainable food production is actually that we help farmers apply less pesticides and use them only on spots when they need, and if they even need that with our technology. And also we reduce food waste, which is also like a big part of the problem, because 30% of all the harvest is currently lost due to pests and diseases, which is 8% of global CO2 emission, which is huge. So that's us.
Good afternoon, everybody, and very happy to be here at this nice congress. Giorgio Piracci, originally from Italy, but I live in Rotterdam, where my company Peterson Project and Solution has its headquarters. We're part of the Royal Peterson and Control Union Group. Many people know Control Union as the largest certification company in the world. We are the advisory division, providing consultancy and supporting companies, mostly in the agro-business, fast consumer goods corporation, from Nestle to Unilever, PepsiCo, Sucafina, and the coffee world, in their transition to sustainability and regenerative agriculture. And I'm chairing regenerative agriculture for the EMEA region, and I feel lucky because my work is exactly helping big corporations to embrace this journey and reduce their footprint and produce a more sustainable and also healthier food. And I started my adventure in Region Ag many years ago when it wasn't a buzzword as it is today in coffee, and I love the concept because it's this sum of ancestral, hands-on in the ground, ancestral techniques, and today high technology. So very excited to be here.
Yeah, thanks guys. Last but not least, I'm Peter, part of the investment team at Vorwerk Ventures. Have been part of Vorwerk Ventures for over more than 6 years now, so intense ride thus far, I can tell you guys. At Vorwerk Ventures, we are primarily investing in seed Series A stage, prefer to lead or co-lead the rounds, primarily in European countries. Amongst other topics, we are very heavily looking into food tech and already going a little bit into Inbar's comment. For us, also food tech, or ag tech at least, is also part of the food tech value chain, and therefore looking really into everything from the consumer side of things, along the whole value chain, down to the ag tech side of things at the farmer level, and everything that is in between, alternative protein, everything that has been mentioned before. Yeah, also super excited to be here to discuss such a relevant topic.
Thank you. So we actually have here venture building, a company, AI company, a regenerative agriculture company, and then investor. So we have the whole value chain. So it's amazing. Thank you for that. So I would like to start with Giorgio. Okay, yeah. So as someone that comes from the regenerative agriculture field, and you did a lot of projects, we spoke about some of them, can you give us some example of case studies for regenerative agriculture? Where do you see the obstacles? Where do you see the opportunity?
Yeah, I would like to talk about one of our ongoing projects globally, is what we are doing with Unilever, that is a well-known corporation, owner of brands like Knorr, for example. And for them, we are, as a Peterson, we are managing their regenerative agricultural global program. Their goal is to have the transition of the supply chain, the full footprint in specific crops before 2030. From conventional to regenerative agriculture. So we are leading projects on soybean and vegetables, tomatoes in Spain and Argentina, for example, on wheat in Germany and Italy. So very different projects where we face with very different producers, from large wheat producer in Germany with very large extension of land, very high technological level, with the use of drones or with the use of automatization on the field, up to smallholder farmers in Greece working on soy, low-income farmers with very small pieces of land. So very different challenges in moving forward on the same pace, that kind of project. One of the obstacles shared at all levels, it's always the economic sustainability of the project. So how to create a business case to convince farmers and make feasible for the farmers to embrace techniques that maybe at the beginning are disrupting their usual way of farming and creating doubts in terms of, will I lose part of my productivity in a world where the profits are already very, very minimal for the producer. We know that the last part of the supply chain has the bigger margin. So these are the main challenges of finding the right business case that create the win-win-win case for the supplier, for the farmers, and for the big companies to invest in the concept.
Thank you. Valeria, AI is a big word. It's also a buzzword. We use a lot of buzzwords in the ag and food tech industry, and we don't always know what we're talking about, unfortunately. But fortunately, you know what you're talking about when you're talking about AI and agriculture. So can you share a bit about the problems that your company is solving and how it is connected to regenerative agriculture?
So probably the major problem that we are addressing with our current customers, so where do we see like the major value for them is actually reducing amount of pesticides used. Yeah? So that's, I think, is a very important part of regenerative agriculture, to make sure that amount of chemicals and the type of chemicals we're using is safe. But the problem and the challenge that the farmers have is that like this safer, more efficient compounds are pretty expensive, and it's very challenging for them to make sure that they're using them in the right time, that they're not using them too much and not building resistance, which is also like a huge part of the problem. And it's super important for them to understand what, when, and why they use, and how efficient that actually is for them. So, and this is where we find like an opportunity to collaborate with the crop protection, with the chemical companies as well, because it might sound a little bit like illogical. Yes, so why would chemical company need someone who reduced the pesticide use? But they also understand the need. So on one hand, they have like this pressure of the regulators that say that you cannot just make money out of selling as much as you can. And also they understand that they're running out of patents. Yeah, so all the products that people used to use up until recently, all these like preventative products, they are not really a source of revenue for them anymore. They want to sell treatment products, the more expensive one and the more tricky one. And the biologicals also are very tricky and much harder to use and apply in the right time. So this is where we and also several other companies in the industry come, trying to help the farmers, the crop protection companies, the crop advisors, and everybody like in this chain to understand what kind of product is needed right now. So how do we sell something that is maybe even more expensive but more efficient, the way that it's like also a benefit for everybody in supply chain. So as you were saying, yes, so that's the biggest challenge, to make everybody happy and not to generate resistance in some parts. So both farmers, crop protection, eventual consumer, regulator. So this is where we help them.
Great answer, thank you. Peter, as an investor, when you're looking for companies with or without the name regenerative agriculture, etc., what are you looking for, and how do you look for the specific answers for you as an investor?
I think there were already two very important points raised here by my two co-panelists. On the one hand, obviously, business case and an ROI for their customer, because I think especially in regenerative agriculture, a lot of times we're talking about the farmers as the customers. I think nowadays still farmers or the farming business is idealized as this like little nice place in nature with some animals, with some apple trees or whatnot. And I think we really have to come to the realization that nowadays farms are really industrial businesses. They're profit driven. They have very thin margins, as we already heard. So for them, we have to create, or we're looking for solutions, if you talk about regenerative agriculture, in a specific way, where you don't create additional work for them, and on the one hand, and on the other hand, no additional financial burden, because they're very much under pressure on that end. I mean, I don't know how many people from you are coming from Germany, but the German government just recently also crossed out some subsidies, for example, on fuel for farmers. And there were these huge protests going on where they were going on the streets with their tractors, basically blocking the whole of Germany, because just by doing that, their business, or just by doing that, they were not able to make a profit anymore. And this is, I think, very, very important when thinking about regenerative agriculture plays. But for us, coming back more in general, as an investor, I think we also look at the problem, but also the opportunity as a whole. And if you think about the whole food value chain, as I pointed out in the introduction, most of carbon emissions in the food value chain are created at the farmer's level. And then if you think about that, depending on which study you're looking at, about 30% of global emissions are created by the food value chain, then we can see what a massive opportunity we have here, not only potentially as a business and investment case, and ultimately as a venture capital investor, it's about making profits as well, but also to have an impact. And also I think it's always a quite interesting and eye-opening statistic that about 50% of habitable land is covered by agriculture or conventional agriculture, unfortunately. So I think there's a lot of levers we can tackle, but on the other hand, find the right business case and find the right customer is quite difficult in that space from my perspective.
Thank you. When we look on companies, amazing companies here, startup companies and different companies, one of the biggest challenges is the scalability. So how do you manage that as a regenerative agriculture company or as any company? And as an investor, which is a super critical question to understand how can you scale it up in a normal way?
Maybe let me start here. I mean, yes, scalability obviously super important when we are looking at an investment case, as we, or at least our LPs have return expectations we need to fulfill. I think especially in agriculture, obviously we love asset-light plays, right, and pure software plays, but especially in agriculture or food tech as a whole, there's oftentimes biotechnological processes or certain hardware development processes involved, and therefore I think it's very important that you have a sustainable business case right away at small scale, that you're also able to leverage something like debt, for example, to build those businesses up fairly quick. So it's not only about equity, I think, and not only about VC investment, but also different sources of funding, and here especially debt, and to get debt, obviously there needs to be some kind of like security, and if you can show at small scale that you can build a profitable business, it helps you in terms of like scaling up in the future and also potentially securing non-dilutive capital. On the other hand, I'm not a big fan of subsidies, at least from my perspective. That shows that there is not a sustainable business case. And as I mentioned earlier, especially in the agricultural business, at least in Germany, it's a heavily subsidized space. And I think from my perspective, we really have to turn around this with new innovative solutions, which hopefully regenerative agriculture is offering to us.
For me, from a pragmatic level, let's say how to spread the adoption of practices, so the scalability of the project usually is done through what we do, the creation of model farms that then trigger the adoption of these practices, because it's very important to provide farmers solutions that work, but reduce the management, the need of time and efforts, energy and money. So in regenerative agriculture, we not only talk about, as you said, carbon or biodiversity, we talk about regenerating different things, and amongst them, we must regenerate the socio-economic aspect of the network. That means creating solutions that are interesting for the farmers. That means reducing the time needed to work. Technology helps a lot, but that reduce the cost, and that create that leverage effect in the adoption and the scalability. I also agree subsidies are an issue. At the same time, we must bring regenerative agriculture on the shelves and to the consumers, and explain consumers that they should be able and open to pay some premium that is then reflected on the prices for the farmers. The premium is not because regenerative agriculture is more expensive. It's that conventional agriculture is artificially cheaper because we externalize most of the cost. Then we pay the people, everybody of us, in terms of health, in terms of wars, environmental degradation, challenges that we face every day. So actually, regenerative agriculture should be a cheaper way of producing food, reducing this external cost. Automatically, someone has to pay that extra, and it's good if people understand now that I should be happy to pay some cents more for a more healthy, nutritious food, because regenerative agriculture should produce also healthier food and more nutritious, apart the environment that some people is not interested in the environment, but on health, everybody should be.
I'd say that for us, scalability is maybe two major points. The first one is setting up very clear expectations and ROIs, so that you come to the farmer and you're bringing something super new to him, and it needs to be very clear, like why exactly he's doing that and what are the success criteria when you start. And then once you start, just really being there for him, because you're asking person to start doing something that is outside of his practices for like generations, for ages. And because of that, it's really important to be his support in that process. And what we were discussing with Peter before that, I think that it's important to give like an opportunity to try that, to show that these ROIs and KPIs are achievable. And then I think scalability is something that happens very naturally if like these expectations in the beginning was organized properly.
Thank you. Not easy at all, but we will get there. Yeah. I have two questions now, and let's try to combine them together. First of all, there are a lot of stakeholders in this industry. So we're talking about investors that want to see ROIs from one end. From the other hand, we have the farmers themselves that want to see ROI and how they don't lose money. In the middle, we have technologies, we have the government, we have regulation, we have IP. How do you see all of this combined together, and what help do we need from each part of them? The second question, which will be afterwards, where will you see our world in 5 years from today? Specifically in agriculture, not...
Very heavy questions, but I'll try to elaborate a little bit from my perspective. As an investor, I mean, obviously, our way of contributing is ultimately capital, right? I mean, there's always that fairy tale is a harsh word, but let me use it, of the like value-adding investor. But ultimately, it's about investment. It's about investing capital in companies who are in need of capital. So I really see our role, first of all, into contributing capital into the right companies, into the right people, into the right spaces to make a return, but also to have an impact at the same time. And I think this is very much possible, especially nowadays. I think we have a great movement, not only in agriculture or food, but energy, whatever. Very, very important from my perspective. But me as an investor, I'm more flying on the higher level rather than, for example, the experts really being in the midst of everything. And I try to evaluate from a very high level which team is the right team and which topic is the right topic to achieve those two primary goals I just pointed out. And answering to the next question after the co-panelists answered.
So the first question is very complicated to provide an answer, and I like regulamentations. Maybe this is not a popular point of view, but I like regulamentation. So, for example, the new EUDR regulamentation by European Union creating a lot of problems for some exporting country, but that is exactly the goal of the regulamentation, to avoid that commodities coming from deforestation, for example, arrive in the European market. That is one of the main drivers globally, and so that is creating a change. So I think an important component is still working with governments and at a different level, of course, to create a framework of rules possibly widely accepted, of course, rules that must be feasible at all levels without creating more damages, economical damages, of course, but it's very important that there is still control from above of this kind of rule set. About where we will be in 5 years from now, I think in a better agricultural world. Artificial intelligence is growing so fast. It's something happening so fast. For sure, it will be an amazing opportunity to reduce pesticides, to reduce herbicides, to have a more point-by-point fertilizer application, control of soil health. The opportunities and the potential is huge, and possibly from 5 years from now we will experience a large-scale use of AI, and regenerative agriculture will no more a buzzword, but will be a fact, will be known by the consumers, and like organic will be something that you will choose on the shelves. So that's my hope.
It will be organic and not copper, etc. Yeah.
I think that these questions are indeed related. So when we started almost 5 years ago, so the industry was completely different, right? So now we're saying that regenerative agriculture is a buzzword, but some things were really hard to imagine 5 years ago, right? So, and it's actually a good thing, yeah? So, and us also with our technology and recurring revenue, you know, knocking on the doors and everybody saying like, what? Like nobody needs that. And now it's like the other way around. So I think that what we do lack at this point is actually transparency and collaboration. Because I think agriculture, maybe because we have such big companies on the market, I don't know, it's a very ego-driven industry, really, in my opinion. And to really be efficient and in parallel do good, which in my opinion are kind of related things, you need to work together. So, and on the previous panel, people were discussing about the data that we see that things are crumbling. So the way that big corporates used to work, it's not efficient anymore and it's changing. So I hope that this will be the development that we'll observe in the next 5 years, that people will just naturally become more open to each other, will have more collaborations and consolidations, you know, on the market, and this will bring more efficiency and more sustainable agriculture as well.
Thank you. You still owe me a question.
I know, I will answer, no worries. Maybe 3 more precise points with regards to this. In 5 years, or let's say it like that, over the next couple of years, I expect to see a lot more consolidation on the farmers level. So farmer businesses will become even bigger businesses, potential even bigger customers, which is, I think, is a good thing from a startup perspective. I don't know so much about in terms of the idealized picture I talked about earlier, but I think, yeah, we can cross that one out for sure in the future. I think we will see definitely way more robotics solutions out on the field, so way less hands-on work. Which is also, I think, is a good thing, especially you think about blue-collar labor shortage, especially talking about Germany here, but assuming also in other countries. Not a lot of people want to work on the fields, which makes sense. And then on the other hand, I think the importance of primary data at the beginning of the value chain at the farmers level will gain much more importance, as especially for the companies on top of the value chains, the Unilevers and whatnot of this world, is huge billion-dollar companies, to achieve their emission reduction goals. They can't rely on secondary/benchmark data anymore, but they really need precise, exact data, as they also will have reporting requirements coming from the European Union or other regulators. So I think there's also some space for very interesting low hardware data plays in that space.
Thank you. So 3 words I got from here: regulation, which is very important, collaboration, and consolidation. So if we will take those 3, maybe we can have a better world in 5 years from now. It's good for all of us. Thank you very much. If you have anything else to add on your side? Any questions from the audience?
Ladies and gentlemen, is there anything you would like to ask to our panelists? No one? That means the discussion was exhausting, or exhaustive, I should say.
Exactly. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so very much.